What an interesting few days that we've all sat through. Now, the few days that I speak of are the presidential election for 2024 for the United States. From my perspective, I see a whole lot of people who are upset with the results of what's happened, and I see a whole lot of people who are excited with the results of what's happened. I am going to reserve judgment upon anybody who feels any particular way. Now, as a medium, I have sat with a lot of people who are grieving. Grief for the loss of parents and children and spouses and friends. Grief for the loss of pets. But here's a grief that we don't talk about often. The grief of a life we thought we were going to live. Now, why are people grieving now? Before I go much further, if you're somebody who delights in the people who are suffering now, you can just excuse yourself from any of what I'm about to share, because that doesn't make you a very nice person. Whether or not you are excited or defeated about these results, there are people, neighbors, friends, and family of yours who are suffering. We're not here to judge as to whether that suffering or that grief is appropriate or even warranted. The fact remains, people are suffering. People are grieving. What are they grieving? They're grieving the life that they thought they were going to have. Now, let's concentrate on this grief for a moment, because this grief is something that we can all relate to, whether you're a Republican, Democrat, conservative, liberal, or anywhere in between. I want you to think about the people who worked hard to create a family only to have a spouse leave them, only to have their child leave them. Think about how many people are in this world who wanted to be parents, who lost their children and had to grieve not only their child, but the life that they thought they were going to lead. How many women, how many men are in this world who thought they were going to have a family and build a family and strengthen a family, to only have, through circumstances outside of their control, the rug ripped out from underneath them? How many parents in this world have wanted to have a healthy child and had to grieve the life that they thought they were going to have when they found out that their child was sick or unhealthy? How many people have been laid off or fired from jobs that they thought they were going to have forever, and then had to grieve the life they thought they were going to have? So many. And right now, we see an overabundance of people grieving a life that they thought they were going to have, or a life they really wanted. Now, I think that we've all heard of the 5 stages of grief, but I want to talk about the 3 that are really standing out right now: anger, depression, and eventually acceptance. I find myself in a peculiar place where I didn't wake up angry or depressed. I went right to acceptance, because now what? I would have done that if Kamala Harris had won. Now what? No. I don't want to judge people for feeling or believing certain ways. I have found way too much of where we're at right now comes from the fact that people entrench themselves in divisionary tactics and rhetoric. Too many people are judging their neighbors. Now, what I have found is that most people do the best they can with what they have. I believe most people are not looking to hurt others intentionally. And the people who are excited about these presidential results will most likely have to grieve a life that they thought they were going to have. Far too many of us will see the presidential election as some sort of magic wand where somebody becomes president and the world becomes a better place. Those people who voted for Donald Trump may indeed have a sour awakening down the road. Time will tell. Those people who are grieving the loss of a Kamala Harris presidency, they are moving through anger and depression back and forth. And it might be easy for us to judge those people. It might be easy to judge ourselves as we move through those emotions. But what's really important is that when a person grieves, we don't judge how they grieve. Their grief path is their own. Some people want to be surrounded by loved ones. Some people want to be left alone. Some people will take outlandish behavior to the nth degree. I've been reached out to by people who are considering starting an expatriates group for people who want to leave America. And I have no interest in leaving America. I have no interest in being part of that group. But I don't want to judge the people who are taking that as a reaction, because everybody handles grief differently. Everybody reacts to grief differently. Some people hurt themselves. Some people fall off their sobriety wagon. Some people get tattoos. Some people quit their jobs. Some people aren't that affected at all. No matter where we fall on that spectrum, we don't judge ourselves, and we should not judge other people, because what grace will show us is that we bring our kindest self to those circumstances. And I think that's what grief calls for more than anything, is grace. Grace for ourselves, grace for our fellow human, whether we believe what they believe or not. The people that are getting up on soapboxes and looking down at their nose at people and rubbing it in, they're not very graceful people. And I can't imagine the pain of the life that they lead that would require them to perpetuate so much pain. So, lessons from Spirit. Grief will be one of the worst experiences of our life. And if you know love in this world, you will know grief. How you move through it, that's up to you. Take care of yourself and don't make things worse for your neighbors who might be grieving. You might not understand their grief. That's not for you to understand. I've had friends who have turned their chickens into pets. The idea of turning a chicken into a pet to me is foreign. But I've seen my friends grieve their chickens like I would grieve my cat. I can't judge their grief even though I don't understand it. And right now, we are given the opportunity to find the best versions of ourselves. Unfortunately, so many people are missing the mark on that. But you have the opportunity to find the best, most graceful version of yourself, no matter where you fall on the political spectrum, whether you're elated and excited or grieving and deflated. Right now, you have the opportunity to take care of yourself, take care of your fellow human, and at the very least, not make it worse for others. Grief is a funny creature, and like I said, everybody is going to get it, no matter what. What will we do when we're confronted with a life that we thought we were going to live, only to find it taken from us? That's an important question for all of us, and I think to be kind with ourselves, to take care of ourselves, to show up for ourselves, to hold space for ourselves and other people really is the only path forward. Because we're all human beings at the end of the day. So I invite you to take care of yourself.